Andre Drummond sets off a monster game with an amazing 24 points, 25 rebounds, and a couple other stats to go along with it to help the Bulls outlast the Atlanta Hawks. Let's talk about this monster game and more starting now. Listen, if you're new to the channel, it's your boy P Kid. This is the Windy City Breeze. You know what we do. But it's come to my attention that most of you all have not subscribed. About 50 of you all don't subscribe, even though you still watch. So listen, before we get started, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you can always stay in tune with this good content. Let's get into the video, man. Listen, if you watched the game today, Andre Drummond, the Chicago Bulls, it was an impeccable game. And what I mean by that is we finally got to see what a lineup with just Andre would look like, and it didn't disappoint. I want to make sure I don't do him any disservice because when you have a game like this, you got to get the stats right. So if I misspoke earlier, forgive me. It's 24 points, 25 rebounds, on top of the fact that it was 2 blocks, 3 steals, only 2 turnovers, which is good for this case, and 11 of 13 from the field. When we say my man ate didn't leave no crumbs, my man ate didn't leave no crumbs. This was a monster game, and it actually came against a team in which you would need someone of his size to really exploit the weaknesses inside. The Atlanta Hawks do get good rebounds. Clint Capella is a good defender. We're not going to make any mistakes about it. But the one thing that Vooch didn't have over him is athleticism, and the one thing Andre Drummond has over him is athleticism and size, and that showed on every single metric. Because if you watch that game, yeah, they almost had to triple team my man down there to get those boards, and we absolutely needed this type of output from somebody on this team. Now, mind you, it's not as if everyone else was scrubs, but there was a point in the game where it was like we had a watch party for it, and it got pedestrian quick. We were missing a lot of shots, wasn't nothing happening. Atlanta made a crazy run going into half. It was like, all right, thought we was cooking, maybe not. You know, maybe this is going to be a repeat. Maybe the magic has fizzled, so to speak, in this regard. But sure enough, the Bulls rally back, and what is again a statement game for me in the sense of we know we can beat this team. We've beat better teams this season. It would be a shame for us to be on this nice run, especially after this whole Zach LaVine thing, and for us to lose against the Hawks, especially when we got Philly coming up. We've already taken a loss against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So this was kind of one of those things from a morale standpoint. You wanted to win before you head into Indiana and facing the Sixers twice. I know we got the edge on them last time, but we do know that that's statistically and even from a personnel spot, they may have our number in some degree. So you want to rack up wins where you can. And again, it we did that. Absolutely. Now, Drummond didn't do it alone, but he is the focal point of this video because we got to see something that we want to see from our big man. And that some people have some type of trepidation when it comes to Vooch. If you have been following the Bulls like we have, you know that the fan base is very split on what Vooch can do for our team. Some people say he's not a good defender, even though he was statistically top 10, top 11 at his position last season. Some people say that's not a good scorer at the position, even though he was also top 10, top 11 at his position. And some people, even like myself, have wondered what this team would look like if Drummond, who at times can run the floor a little better, can definitively get those boards that Vooch at times struggled with. Because let's face it, sometimes they're left there on the island, and Vooch is probably the only person down there getting boards at times. It happens, right? It even happened with Drummond now. But you see the difference in both skill sets. It's not to say that Vooch is a worse player than Drummond or anything of that nature, but he doesn't have the size Drummond has. And so in games where you need the size, you need those boards. I mean, Drummond has said it before. He's probably one of the best rebounders in league history. He probably a little bit of a reach, but if you go by his average and what he can do, when you allow him to do it, it works. Now, I don't want to overstate this because I know people will sit there and be like, oh, now you're saying that Vooch is not as good as Drummond, stuff like that. No, Vooch has a skill set that I think Drummond hasn't mastered yet. He has a finesse to his game, his offensive game, that Drummond may or may not ever develop. But you can't make up for size. It just is what it is with that. Drummond is a bigger, more imposing guy on the floor at times. And even if that doesn't seem like that, I've seen him in person. He just is a stockier dude. It just is what it is. So you can see where you would absolutely need his skill set. And I've always wondered what a two-man lineup with them in them playing the twin tower role would look like. We didn't get that necessarily, but we do see that if Vooch is given, I mean, excuse me, Drummond. Ooh, I didn't say everybody but Drummond. If Drummond gets that opportunity, what that can absolutely look like, and it was pretty good. Here's how the team capitalized on it, though. So all these rebounds that we're talking about don't mean anything if we don't have people knocking down shots. We don't have people actually capitalizing on the opportunity to do this. And this is what it kind of led to. The Bulls overall had people put up monsters like Kobe White, 19, 5, and 5 tonight. Ayo Dosunmu stepped up, 19 points. DeMar stepped up with another 25-point game. With all of those things working in tandem, with our big man going to work, and it wasn't as if he was dominating the paint to the point where it took everyone else out of rhythm. What I mean by that is it's not as if we put it to Vooch, the flow of the game, stop the stuff like that. Drummond really was working within the flow of the offense, within the flow of the game, and it was just coming naturally, and he was just cleaning things up. And that's what you want to see. Your cleanup man, when you have your shooters out there doing what we want them to do, someone who be able to clean up, clean the glass, get some putbacks and stuff like that. And that's not necessarily Vooch's game, but it is something he's done and how he's made his money. So we can't discredit it. So the one thing I want to say is I want to be able to give praise and props to Andre Drummond for coming in when his number was called, putting up a monster stat line, really living within that moment and helping the Bulls get a W. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. That we continue this upward mobility, continue this upward trajectory of actually getting closer to 500 and actually making our stake for a contending position within the playoffs this season. And that's really all I care about. But you know what the Chicago fan base is going to do. Everyone is going to compare them. It's bound to happen. Should we have done this? Should we have done that? And you know what? I'm just happy they're both on the team because there's a room, space, and rhyme and reason for why Vooch is here and what he can do and why he starts over Drummond. And there's a claim, rhyme, and reason as to why Drummond is a good backup who can actually come in, step up when we don't have our big like Vooch, and we can go from there. Now, it will be very odd that if this is another case of addition by subtraction, I may have to come back and eat my words on this one. But as it stands right now, there's no reason to go down that road. I want to praise Drummond for what he's done. I want to show that he still has it because some people consider him washed, which I thought was wild. Like I do believe he could still start in this league, just not in the same capacity he may have done in Detroit. But I do believe he could be a starting big man who's a little more than serviceable for what you need him to, especially if you have a team full of shooters. But I want to hear your thoughts, man. I want to hear how you all felt about what Drummond did, because ultimately, if Drummond doesn't give us this performance, we don't get this W. No, there's nothing that DeMar would have done to change this outcome and stuff like that. Someone had to clean up this glass. P. Will wasn't really giving us that type of production. I'm not trying to throw shade at him or shouldn't send shots his way, but it just is what it is. Somebody had to clean up the glass. Somebody had to get these buckets, and it can end up being Drummond. But I want to hear your thoughts, man. How do you feel about him? How do you feel about the lineup that we put out there? How we responded to Atlanta's call and their charge to actually make these late runs, and how we ultimately closed out this game realistically, and how Drummond was a major part of that. Give me your thoughts, man. Whether it's love, whether it's hate, put it in the chat. I'll be in there with you all. Till next time. Peace.